Salutations, purpose seekers, and welcome to Livelihood Practice. Here, our intentions are to communicate learning by asking questions with the goal of sparking a beautiful conversation to heal and nurture our learning across different livelihood realms. My name's Amy. I'm a former homeschooler, and I graduated UCLA with a personally designed interdisciplinary major studying psychological development, sociocultural change, education systems and pedagogy, and the communications between these different systems. Today's question is, why is forgiveness and accountability empowering? I'd like to first start out this conversation with saying that empowerment can be through understanding the difference between what we can versus cannot control. And then I'm going to lead into explaining the victimhood versus hero arc and how we have the power to choose our own narratives and where that leads us into forgiveness. I'll also provide psychological tools and learning tips to try and support us with things we can use to help build forgiveness and accountability, not only for others, but most especially for ourselves. So I want to begin with a beautiful quote by Marcus Aurelius, the king of Stoicism, and I think that it will resonate with everyone as we lead into this discussion about forgiveness and accountability. Marcus Aurelius says, "Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care about how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods, but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life and will live on in the memories of loved ones." I find this quote very beautiful because it truly says your actions and who you choose to be in your daily life is not dependent on an entity beyond yourself. It is simply upon you. And there are things that you cannot control, but for the things that you can control, you can have power within. With this Stoic idea, we are gaining awareness of who we are. And I think the biggest thing that we can do is start with self-reflection and start understanding in our day-to-day lives and moment to moment that we have feelings, and our feelings are the driving force of how we react to different situations in life. When we pay attention to our feelings, we can learn what is making us feel not the best and what is making us feel alive and full of vitality. And I think once we start paying attention to our feelings, we begin to start having more awareness about who we have become and who we would like to be in these emotions that are guiding us. And oftentimes we can have feelings because they remind us of things in the past. Many things from the past have created feelings within us that have made us feel guilty or shame or anger. And all of these negative feelings can tend to make us feel like a victim. I feel a lot of times in our culture today, we can get trapped in a lot of language that puts us in a state of being a victim. And when you are being a victim, you tend to create these walls around you that don't lift you out of victimhood, and you become stuck in this place that you're forever being under power of somebody else and what someone else has done to you. And when you are being a victim, you feel that you cannot strive for something greater beyond yourself because you are trapped within these borders that have been created around you, either by yourself or through the circumstances systemically that have been perpetuated. I will link a video below about why our society is systemic, so I can have you better understand what I'm describing here about the systemic layers or borders around being a victim. However, there's an antidote to this, and I find this to be a psychological tool that has not only helped me, but many others that I've had intimate conversations with about how they've been victimized in their life. And when you have been a victim, you acknowledge that you have gone through a traumatic experience, and these experiences have shaped you to who you have become. And in these traumatic experiences where you have been a victim, I really want to emphasize this past tense narrative and language that I am using here. You tend to choose the empowerment of a hero arc or underdog story. And in a hero arc and underdog story, a person tends to rise above the circumstances that have gone against them, that had created them to have been a victim. So there's this really beautiful story that oftentimes is the favorite of anyone that can watch a really good movie, where there's this one person who's called to an adventure, and there's something around the supernatural or some kind of really difficult challenge that they have hit, that they have to overcome. And this is essentially the threshold or the beginning of them starting a transformation. But they don't really understand that that transformation is happening quite yet. Usually along the way, they have a helper or mentor, and this could be in the form of a community or key role models in your life. And I'll link another couple videos below about how to find your community and sense of belonging, and why your sense of belonging is important. Now, once you've gone through these challenges and another word is temptations that you've endured, then this person tends to hit a pinnacle challenge that tests who they want to be. It's either that victim that they were before, or that person they are choosing to be, so they are no longer the victim, but transforming into something that they can resolve from their past. Oftentimes, when you resolve having been a victim, it requires taking accountability for the things that you could have taken control over and you didn't, and the things that you can now take control over that you, at that time in the past, were not able to overcome. And this brings us back to the accomplishment in achieving the hero arc, and how that can really heal your sense of self from having been a victim and no longer being a victim, trapped in this story of being stuck in this box from either the circumstances or yourself that have trapped you. There are times in our past where we realize we didn't have the power to overcome what we were going through, even though we had the choice to choose how to rise above it. However, oftentimes we do not have the support around us in order to rise above. And I think it's really important to see that we can choose the narrative we want for our lives. And that starts with realizing what we can versus cannot control. And like I said from the beginning, this starts with really having a sense of our feelings and not relying on an outside entity, but truly relying on ourselves. And if we need support, we go to others that can support us and not just break us down or repeat us in these cycles that tell us that we are still a victim. The things that you can control, most importantly, is how you react. So once you get in touch with your feelings, how you react to these feelings can truly give you a sense of how you want to guide yourself into a more hero arc. A way to understand this is to also have interactions with others. The way that you treat others is truly a reflection of how you treat yourself. And curating this sense of compassion, empathy, and kindness with others, and this understanding of others, can really curate an understanding and compassion within ourselves. the way we treat others is how we want to be treated ourselves. And I say this not only for how you want others to treat you, but truly it's a reflection of how you want to treat yourself. The stories that we tell ourselves and others, and this is through our actions, not just our language and the conversations we have, but truly our actions with others, really define our values. When you begin choosing your narrative, forgiveness becomes one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself and others. It allows you to release these barriers that you've created around yourself and start breaking through them with compassion. I mean, it's kind of the idea of killing them with kindness. And sometimes not even sometimes, oftentimes you can meet people or even yourself, and it can be really hard to be forgiving, to allow yourself to understand that you did not meet, or that other person did not meet the expectations that were out there. And I think there's this really beautiful quote by Maya Angelou on forgiveness saying, "Every day I try to do better, see better, say better, talk better, be better. I do my best. And I blow it 10 times out of 12. I ask forgiveness of anyone whose feelings I may have hurt. I ask forgiveness of God. I forgive myself, and then I start again." I think this is a really beautiful quote because it truly shows that every day can be a challenge, and it does not matter if you have failed because you can always try again. We're human beings and we're fallible, and the biggest step is to take accountability for the things that we can control and that we failed to do, and also the things that we cannot control. Be understanding of ourselves, that those were the things that were limiting us, and that we can try again and become something greater. Part of being human is being fallible. I have this really beautiful story where my significant other and I were both having a bad day. We were not being our best selves, either of us, and it was just not we were just not able to rise out of this state of feeling better, but we were just stuck with each other at that moment. And we wanted to be with each other in that moment, but at the same time, it was really difficult because we were not being our best selves. And he said to me, "You know, Amy, I understand that you're not feeling the best, and I'm not feeling the best right now, but I just want to let you know that that's okay, and that you're human, I'm human, and we're being human right now, and that is okay." And it's like this beautiful, like, healing of a wound that just like, it's like all of a sudden, like, tons of like weight that felt on my shoulder just melted off, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're right, I'm human and I make mistakes, and we're just having emotions right now, and we could rise out of this. We can choose the narrative that this is what's happening to us, separating us from being whatever failed expectation we were, and separating ourselves as being in this situation where we failed expectations, but that does not define our character and who we are. And this is the power of choice and choosing forgiveness. So the main tools here is having awareness of feelings and just listening to your body and why you're reacting the way you're reacting. Sometimes you cannot name how or why you're reacting to that. Sometimes you can, and oftentimes that is rooted in something from your childhood or past experiences that have taught you to have this feeling from certain situations you're enduring. And then the next step is to decide how you want to choose to react. And when you decide that, you have to decide, what am I going to do with what I can do, and what can I not do? It's separating yourself from your desires and wants and focusing on what you need and what is best for you to have yourself be in a better place. The next is, how can you console yourself? If it it means that you just need to take some space, then you should allow yourself to take that space. If it means that you need another, that you can have support with, and just understanding that you're heard and that you're seen, oftentimes that can also support you. And then other times you just need guidance or advice, and that's where you can go to someone you trust, who you feel like you relate to. And I'll link below birds of a feather that flock together, and you can see how the people around you that make you feel seen and understood, that you resonate with and want to be around, they can oftentimes give you the best advice. Now, it could even work in reverse, where you see another that is having a difficult time and they're not able to get to a place where they can forgive themselves. And this is the time where you can practice how you treat others as a way of curating your values. And this is by either asking them if they just need space, and if there's anything that they need, you can support them. If they need guidance or advice, and you could give them from your perspective what that you think is best from according to their situation, only if they ask for that advice. No one likes unwanted advice. And also asking, would you like support and just being heard and seen? And if you need more than that, would you like me to try and understand as well? Sometimes people just want to be heard and seen, and they don't want to be understood because they have a unique situation that you could not relate to. Sometimes they really seek understanding, and you can try your best to use compassion and empathy to support another. I hope this video was helpful. I've found that throughout my life, I've had a lot of difficulties with forgiveness and accountability, but the more I practice every day gratitude and recognizing my feelings to see what I can and cannot control in my situation, the more I feel empowered and understanding that I am human and we are fallible, and I can always try again, because we are always growing, we are always changing, and that's the beauty of life and being alive, is that you can always change and you can always grow. Anyways, purpose seekers, if this was helpful at all, please let me know. What did you think that I said that was really useful? Is there anything that you'd like me to expand more about, such as having been a victim or being a victim, and how to have more psychological tools or learning tips connected to that? And is there anything else you'd like me more to expand upon, or did anything resonate with you and you found it to be really helpful? I'd really love to hear any advice and thoughts that you have, because I'd love to learn from you. Anyways, thank you for joining me, Purpose Seekers, and I'll see you in the next video.